Mr. President, let me start by extending a warm welcome to you and your distinguished delegation. Your visit is important to us as it signifies the cordial relations which exist and have always existed between our two great nations. I would like to express my appreciation to you for honoring my invitation and attending this inaugural session of the Elevated Binational Commission. Our two countries enjoy historical, political, economic, and social relations. Our meeting today presents us with an opportunity not only to review the general state of our bilateral relations, but to make a firm determination that the ties between our two countries will be further strengthened by your visit here. We meet at a time when our two nations have just emerged from elections. In this context, allow me, Mr. President, to convey our congratulations to you and the people of Nigeria. These elections are testimony to our commitment to deepen democracy and good governance on our continent. From its independence, Nigeria's foreign policy has been anchored on African liberation and African progress. This was the case during the struggle to free African countries from the shackles of colonialism and imperialism. South Africa will always be grateful for the support we received from your country during the very dark days of the apartheid misrule of this country. The fact that Nigeria became a member of the frontline states, much as it was geographically far from the theater of the struggle for liberation in this region, you committed yourself as a nation and as a country, and indeed as a government, to bring an end to apartheid. And in the course of this, your country and your people will have sacrificed quite a lot of things. But we are delighted, Mr. President, that you yourself, even at that stage, you commit yourself to be totally opposed to apartheid. Therefore, we shall never forget the role that your country played in ensuring that the people of South Africa enjoy the freedom that we enjoy today. Mr. President, I'd like to take this opportunity to reiterate South Africa's and our government's deep regret at the incidents of public violence that erupted in some parts of our country a few weeks ago. Some of the acts of violence were directed at foreign nationals, and some of whom coming from your own country. We would like to assure you that South Africa is committed to the ideals of African unity and solidarity, respect the human rights of others, and to ensure that South Africa is ruled by the rule of law. While we are working to address the economic and social conditions that have given rise to frustrations and anger among some of our people, we firmly condemn all forms of intolerance and will not hesitate to act against criminal acts and violence. We seek closer cooperation and strategic partnership between South Africa and all African countries, but especially with Nigeria, on various continental matters of peace, security, migration, and development. It is our common desire that we mark the 20th anniversary of our binational commission. We will further cement our relations of friendship and coordination. It is this very strong bond that should propel our two nations to forge ahead in the creation of a much stronger, prosperous, and more peaceful Africa, and best relations between South Africa and Nigeria. Since the inaugural session of the Binational Commission 20 years ago, there have been heightened engagements amongst our respective government departments. I'm confident that the report that will be presented to us shortly will reflect the positive outcomes emanating from these engagements. Although progress has been commendable, we must continue to intensify our efforts to institutionalize the relationship between our two respective governments, but also with the private sector. We must work to significantly increase and diversify trade between our two nations and to make conditions conducive for greater investment flows. We must seek opportunities to extend cooperation on resource beneficiation for the mutual benefit of our people. There is a need to continue to promote people-to-people linkages, especially through tourism, sports, culture, educational exchanges, and in many, many other areas. Through greater economic development, cultural exchange, and social cohesion, we can advance our objective of a stable and peaceful Africa. To this end, our two countries, as part of a continental collective, need to work through bilateral and multilateral avenues to realize all the key aspirations of the African Union's Agenda 2063, especially economic integration and development. We must use this platform to further recommit ourselves to the resolution of conflict in Africa and the fight against terrorism, extremism, and corruption. We need to coordinate our efforts to address the impact of climate change on our countries and on our people, and to work together to promote a significant reduction in global emissions in line with international agreements. Allow me, Mr. President, to convey our sincere appreciation for the support that Nigeria extended to South Africa's candidature for a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council. We are using this strategic position to champion Africa's quest for peace and stability in line with the collective vision encapsulated in the AU's Agenda 2063. It is my view that our deliberations today will afford us a significant opportunity to refocus and reprioritize our cooperation to strategically address key issues for the mutual benefit of our two countries. I look forward to our productive and fruitful deliberations. And I'd like to thank you, Mr. President, and once again welcome you and your delegation warmly to South Africa. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, honorable ministers, senior officials, gentlemen and ladies of the press, ladies and gentlemen, It is a great honor to co-chair this inaugural meeting of our binational commission at the level of heads of state. This is a clear manifestation of the special relationship between our two countries. I and my delegation are extremely grateful for the very warm fraternal reception extended to us on our arrival in your beautiful country. I also thank you for the excellent arrangements made for this meeting. I would like to commend our senior officials and ministers for their hard work and the high-quality documentation prepared for our meeting. We in Nigeria value the warm fraternal relations binding our two countries and cherish our special relationship. We consider South Africa an ally and a strategic partner. There exist 32 agreements and memorandum of understandings signed between Nigeria and South Africa. Excuse me. And we need to implement those that have come into force, as well as to expedite necessary action to ratify the 7 outstanding agreements that have not yet been brought into force. I welcome the robust defense cooperation between Nigeria and South Africa and call for more support and solidarity with us in our fight against terrorism and violent extremism. We also welcome the increased collaboration against arms and drug trafficking, money laundering, and human trafficking. We are committed to greater cooperation to address the economic challenges facing the people of our two countries, especially with regard to unemployment, which we believe is at the root of so much youth restiveness and radicalization. We are pleased to inform you that our government has made doing business in Nigeria easier through the Ease of Doing Business initiative to open up more opportunities for investors in Nigeria. We call on the government of South Africa to also take steps to ease the doing of business in the country and open up its market space for Nigerian businessmen and women. In this context, we are gratified that a Nigeria, excuse me, South Africa Business Forum has been organized in the framework of this state visit. Mr. President, we have condemned in the strongest terms attacks against Nigerians and other African nationals living in South Africa, the looting of their shops and businesses and burning of their properties. We call for the strengthening and implementation of all the necessary measures to prevent the reoccurrence of such action, which threatens to undermine not only our strong bilateral relations, but also what we stand for in the context of our vision for a strong and prosperous Africa we want. We also condemn the very few incidents of retaliatory attacks on South African businesses in Nigeria. I am happy to report that we took strong and decisive measures to stop the attacks and prevent any reoccurrence. Nigeria is committed to strengthening the monitoring and implementation mechanism of the binational commission between our two countries to ensure the timely execution of our decisions and the achievement of the goals of our commission. Finally, we are determined on our part to sustain the renewed vigor of the strategic partnership between Nigeria and South Africa, anchored on regular consultation, collaboration, and cooperation. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much.